If you are in classes 11 and 12 and preparing for the boards, I have some tips for you, being someone who recently gave the boards exam. The first tip that I would give is utilize the first few months of the 2 years as much as you can, because these are relatively low paced months, and after that things will move on like a bullet train and ultimately end up into a Concorde. So it's better to go as much ahead of school as you possibly can in those times. It will have make that all-nighters before the exams into maybe a 1 or a 1:30 a.m. sleep. In class 12, while going at will school space, and then additionally you can do calculus sums, because I think that might be helpful. I haven't done that, but um, like in class 11 physics, you already do have some extent of calculus, so it wouldn't be much difficult to get from that, because like class 12's calculus basically is like it takes from that and gets ahead. So yeah, I didn't do that, but it was calculus which ultimately took a lot of efforts big time before the exam. So I think that would be a good thing to do. The next thing that I would give is related to chemistry. Read class 11 as well as you can, especially organic chemistry, and class 12 will be more than half done. Um, Physics, I would say, like class 11 felt a bit more difficult than class 12's, to be honest, but and there is actually very few relation between the two. But if you are someone who would give joint or neat, then class 11's knowledge is needed, and you need to have that handy. I will come to this in a later bit. Now, some general tips that I would like to share. Uh, Read the textbook, which for cbse students is the NCERT. You have to read that thoroughly, and solve the 5 years questions. Like this year, that the boards that we gave, this is probably the most difficult board exam in the last few years at least. So practice that, keep that as something that that you practice extensively. Practice as much as, like, do all the sums and all the questions in this at least, and then select some, because there are some repetitions in the earlier years. um, and like it is particularly useful in mathematics, because like calculus you can practice different types of sums from that. Now, speaking of different types, this is a tip that my maths teacher Gaurav sir had told me. So basically, like if you are practicing sums from suppose RD Sharma, which has a humongous number of sums, take an exercise which has about 100 sums divided by some numbers you want. Select a number of sums from that, like suppose divided by 5, and then you have 20 sums. Select different types of sums from that, like choose the difficult ones, or like do not choose the repetitions, choose one from each type, and like you will end up having 20 to 25 different options out of that 100. So like from 100 it's a lot down, so that wouldn't be as much difficult to do. uh, so like choose different types, and also choose what you feel like would be a bit difficult. um, and also examples can be really useful. Um the next tip that I would say is make a schedule. Now, to be honest, I am not someone who followed routines apart from like the last 15 to 20 days, when my mother made some routines which I adjusted accordingly. So to make a routine, what you have to do is give more time to what on the topics that you would think you are finding a bit difficult to understand, but also make sure that you have some time for other subjects and other topics as well, because otherwise if you are focusing only on one topic or one subject and improving on that, you will end up on losing on the others, because like if you don't adjust time accordingly, focus more on that but do not leave others as well. Now, the last but not least tip that I would give is make notes, because like this is something that I did extensively. Use all the resources that you have, like books or the notes from tuition classes, and make a personalized note out of that. For chemistry, like in organic chemistry, write the name reaction somewhere. For physics, do the derivations, and in maths, write the formulas and integration types and the different rules that apply to that. um, and then add like whatever you find is necessary, what you feel is difficult to remember, add those points in that. And coming to the point that I was talking about earlier, if you make notes, it will be easier if for you to get the important parts in one place, and that will be helpful when you are preparing for competitive exams. In the end, you have to analyze and do what is needful and prepare accordingly. These are some tips that I think would be useful. Thanks for spending your valuable time watching this video. Like, share, and subscribe as always, and more such content coming up. So that's it. Bye. This is the like all the notes that I made in class 11 and 12, like of physics, chemistry, maths, and of some from economics. Like it's a lot.